generator technicians, not Spielberg. I'll shine the torch in there. Okay, how's that look? Oh, you can see everything now. You can see three big capacitors there. The inverter pack is mounted on the other side of this bulkhead, but there's a hole in it for these capacitors to stick through. Now that's worth having a look at those three capacitors, because if they've got any splits in them, or they're bulging, or there's any sort of damage, that's a good clue that the inverter pack has gone. Now you see where the, I'm going to move around a bit more, you see where the plug's located. Oh, no, not there, you can't. Oh, this is terrible. Oh, YouTube will sack me. There you go, you can see where the plug's located. And it's, I'll show you all that, because that plug can be a devil to get undone. And the little tag that I showed you is on the opposite side to where we are. And you have to get in there, push that tag in, and it's alright, bow, to kind of wiggle it off, but it will come off. And then once you've got it off, zoom in a bit more. I can get my pointy stick. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Let's see. Put it. I'll just get my monitor working so I can see what you're seeing. Patience, as it were. Right. Oh, there we go. Right, now I can see what you're seeing. That'll help now. This one I've already unplugged earlier, as I said, so I'll just put that out so you can see the end of it. There you go, and you'll end up with it about there for doing your tests. Okay, now there are several tests you can do, but basically what you're looking at here, these three connections, these three terminals, are the ends of the three-phase winding. The stator in one of these is a three-phase winding, wired, if you're familiar with these sort of things, in star. So it means that one end of every winding is connected together. So you've got three ends effectively with a centre tap, and then the floating end appears here in these. So a good test of these is to do a resistance test across any of these. Whatever combination you choose, they should all give you, any pair of those three should give you the same resistance, to show you that all the windings are the same value and balanced, and one hasn't partially burnt out or anything. Now, I think you'll find that resistance should be about 4.5 ohms. You're effectively measuring two of the windings whenever you pick a pair of terminals, but whichever of those three you pick, you should get about 4.5 ohms, and they should all be identical. Then another test is, this is the sub, but that I've found that gives about 0.1 of an ohm. And then the next test you do is with the machine turned off so it can't start, and if you want to make life even easier for yourself, you can take the spark plug out, you put your meter in there set to AC volts, because the output will be AC, and just pull it over, and you should, out of any combination of those three main winding terminals, you should get 35 volts ish, and then out of this sub winding you should get 1 volt. And this is why I measure the resistance as well, because when you pull it over and you're measuring the AC output, well, it's very hard to know if things are balanced, because do you know that you've really pulled it over at exactly the same speed each time, because the faster you pull it over, the more output you get. So anyway, but about 35 volts AC you'd expect, unless you've got an American machine, when it'd probably only be half that, because it's a different voltage for the Americans. So that's that side of it. Now, if you've got a problem with your stator, the chances are that's going to reveal it. There are other tests within the workshop manual for all sorts of things, but my experience is that by the time, just doing that on the stator test usually reveals where the fault is, because if that all measures up okay, then it's really pointing towards a problem with your inverter pack. And the inverter pack, there's no real way of testing them. I'm just going to put this camera back so I'm talking to you again a bit. There we go. Oh, there I am. Oh, that's handsome. No, you see, it's not. Okay, we'll try that. Yeah, so, yeah, inverter pack. It's not really a way of testing one of them unless you've got another machine to plug it into, or you've got another inverter pack to try on your machine. But so you have to work by a process of elimination, and basically if your stator is looking okay and it's giving you output and all of those sort of things, well, the very fact that it's giving you right output when you know, in terms of volts when you pull it over, suggests that the flywheel is okay. Because without the, you know, if the flywheel magnets had gone ropey, then you wouldn't be getting the output. And you've checked the resistance to make sure that the windings are balanced, so it really does only leave you the inverter pack, assuming of course that you've checked that the wires that go from the inverter pack to the main output sockets are actually okay, because sometimes you just obviously you can get a situation where the wires in the output sockets have come loose, so it's obviously one that's worth checking. And that's really as simple as you like to do that. And as for that plug that's really difficult to unplug, well, whenever I service one of these, I take that plug off anyway, even though it's a sod. And you get into those, you'll see those terminals, you can just get in there with a little screwdriver and just tighten them up ever so slightly, because that way they give you a really nice tight fit on the inverter pack. And because I have seen occasionally with these, those three main winding terminals are under a lot of stress in terms of they've got a lot of electricity going through them, they heat up, cool down all the time, and those terminals can get a bit loose, and then they'll start arcing, and then they'll melt the plug, and that can melt right into the inverter pack and create problems like that. So when I service one of these, I just tighten up those terminals a bit just to make sure that you're not going to get that problem, because you've got vibration, heat, everything's trying to make it come loose. So that's about, yeah, that's enough waffling on from me. You get the picture. Cheers.